My heart, pumping all day long. Get me the morning when darkness comes. My heart, ooh. It takes so long to mend. It's harder to lean on this shell of a man. You found love in the Lord, your family and your friends. Could you please pray for me that I can find the same within? My heart, pumping all day long. When the evening comes, please stay strong. Give me the morning when darkness falls. My heart, I found victory in the Father's love from the day we wed. And those vows to hold true. Nothing's gonna tear me down until the day I'm dead. My heart belongs to you. Walking a gray line in a world that's black and white. Wondering why things they did not turn out quite right. Please believe me, please don't leave me. I said I'm sorry, didn't you hear me? take my jacket. Take it. Please believe me. Please don't leave me. I said I'm sorry. Didn't you hear me? Please believe me. Please don't leave me now. I said I'm sorry. I said I'm sorry. Didn't you hear me? The rain, the rain, the rain is falling slow. It's cold, we know. We're standing in it too. You're there, your hair is soaking wet. Please take my jacket. You look better in it anyway. You look better in it anyway. Just take it. Just take it. Watching you go through it. You're living, you're loving, you're laughing, you're playing, you're singing, you're dancing in the dark. You're dancing in the dark. I said I'm sorry. You're dancing in the dark. Dancing in the dark. I said I'm sorry. You're dancing in the dark. Wind is always at my back. My back is always strapped with these things that I call my own. Life, it isn't always grand, but when you finally take that stand, you become a man. You needed to become. You meant everything to me. Why you left, I could not see. I guess people just do what they want. Time, it goes faster every day, and my heart, it leads the way, while the future, it fades into a memory. Is always at my back. My back is always strapped with these things that I call my own.
The sharing of biased and false news has become all too common on social media. More alarming, some media outlets publish these same fake stories without checking facts first.
The sharing of biased and false news
has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media outlets publish these stories simply aren't true without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
As the world watches and listens in horror, the peaceful pro-democracy demonstration in China comes to a violent and bloody end.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
Wolves hiding nearby, whispering do or die around me. You say your last good night while I get
There is another very important phase of warfare. It has as its target not the body, but the mind of the enemy.
The target of psychological warfare is against the enemy's mind.
It is words and ideas.
The ammunition used by Psywar.
Its mission is to influence the thoughts of the enemy soldier, and at the same time
is expected and encouraged to study foreign languages and the social sciences such as history, economics, and sociology. He must have a broad and sympathetic understanding of all phases of human experience.
gripping at my skin, the walls of night closing.
but the use of this force as an integral part of combat has now taken on new form.
As I wait to say my last goodbye.
These are the Psywar soldiers.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Caught Up. This is it's not a special episode, it's a Devolution series. These series, I did them in the beginning a little while ago, I don't know, some episodes back, and I was reading them in the beginning, and they're long and they're drawn out, but then I realized you could share it with Patrick Gunnell's reading it, and then I would move the cursor so that you could read it while he was reading it as well. Anyway, long story short, Jon Herald, or Patel Patriot from Badlands Media, came out with a Devolution.link It's how it all began in the beginning with him, probably, if he would, guess he could tell you the story, but Devolution's cool. It's goes into a whole lot of stuff, executive orders, talks about continuity of government, it shows all the players, all the cast of characters, whatever you want to label it. It's not a conspiracy theory, it's not any of those things. If you go to it, devolution.link, you can go to the sources, which he references, all those good things. It's amazing, and it's many articles. It's not just one. That's why it's called a series. It seems like there's 19 to 23 of them with some addendums in between and all that. But I know that he's redone them where he gives a little bit of he interjects through it as Patrick Gunnels is reading. So I'm going to start this process over. I'm going to try to do it on Thursday nights, sometime around 8 or 9 o'clock, I guess, just whenever I get a minute to sit down and play it. And I'm not going to say a whole lot of anything because he does a fantastic job himself going through it. And it's one man's work. He did a lot of work, a lot of research, a lot of it's whatever. It's pretty amazing. It's if you could ever be involved in something where you stumble across all the right things at the right time, I think it was where Jon was, and shows kind of some of the things that we've been going on talking about for a long time. So it's amazing. So anyway, let's see here real quick. Let me show you. All right, that's Devolution.link, guys, right there. Patel, Patriot, Jon Herald, his Devolution series. And obviously that's him. He has a Substack, Twitter, Telegram, all those good things. And here's an introduction. You can read the article or live reading. And you go down here, here's all these parts. And so as you go down, see, as I go down, just carries on. So where are we at? 25, it looks like. 25 plus. And then here it says you join him on Sundays at 4. They're not always exactly Sunday at 4. But if you follow him, then you'll see. You'll see just exactly when he does those shows. So anyway, we're going to get into it. It's about 41 minutes long. This one is 42 minutes or something like that. And then I say a couple things at the very end, and then I'll drop the podcast and do my regular show on Friday at 9 as usual. So I hope you guys enjoy. It's really good. I always do it right here. I'll see you all later.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. And welcome to like a little locals live stream exclusive. I'm pretty darn excited about this. It's the first time I've ever streamed to locals. And I just want to make sure we're live over there. And we are. Awesome. Okay. So I've been kicking around for a while, what to do with our locals. And somebody in the Power Hour chat last night brought up the idea of like doing almost like a book club type thing, except with the Devolution series. And I love the idea, and I want to do it with you guys. And so that is kind of what we're going to do here. We're going to listen to Patrick's reading of this article, and this one is a particularly short one. I think it's the shortest one, so it'll be a nice little trial run for us. And then as we go through, I'll pause and like give my thoughts and commentary on it. So it should be pretty fun. And then when we're done with the devolution part of this, I might switch it over to like subscribers only and just do a little hangout, because I don't know how long this is going to take. But once this is out, and like for 2 or 3 days, I'll clip it down to just the devolution part, and then I'm going to put it out on Rumble. So eventually this will be for everybody. I'm not a big fan of putting stuff behind a paywall. And so we're just going to do this to try to increase our locals presence. That's what kind of Rumble's been encouraging us to do. So that's how we're going to do it. But yeah, seen some familiar names in the chat. Caterbug, Sammy the Squirrel, PHS JR, who made the Devolution Power Hour intro video. Nice to see, man. Okay, Parks, BK Masterson. Yeah, so make sure you guys are chatting if you're here with us. And I think we'll just kick it off by going right into Devolution Part 1, as read by Patrick Gunnels. And so this is so funny because I didn't actually know who Patrick was. No, maybe I should give a little background on how this whole thing went down. 1 second. So for those who don't know, I started like all this stuff on, I was on Twitter back in 2020 or whatever, when everybody else was. And I was following Brian Cates, and he got me onto Thomas Wichter. And that is kind of what got me over to this other obscure social media platform called Quod Verum. And I was over there, I was posting about Devolution when Thomas Wichter was. And the owner of that site, his name was Saul, he was not a big fan of me. And he basically threatened to dox me and boot me off the platform. And so I felt unwelcome. I was like, hey, I'm going to leave. At the time, there were people that I had kind of connected with on Quod Verum who encouraged me to start a Substack and a Telegram channel and just go from there. So that's what I did with these articles. This first one, I was just coming off that social media site, had no idea what I was going to do, had no intentions of really anything other than just writing what I had already found. And it kind of exploded from there. But when it came to Patrick, somebody in my Telegram was like, hey, Patrick's reading your article today. And I had no idea who he was, never heard of him, but I watched it and it was so much fun. But I'm curious how it's going to be the second time around. I feel like it's going to be cringy. I don't know. And one thing about my writing too is I wanted it to be a point that I would never go back and edit anything. I wanted everything to be as I wrote it, as I was researching and writing. So I'm curious if any of my views have changed or thoughts have changed as we go through this. Okay, can we see this on the screen? All right, I'm going to play a little audio from this and see if you guys can hear it.
From patelpatriot.substack.com. Patel Patriot's newsletter. Devolution.
Did you guys hear that? Am I even live here? Okay, you guys heard it. So we are gonna go through this. I will pause it when I think some relevant stuff has come up. And yeah, let's have some fun doing a little recap of the Devolution series. And I'm going to try to do this every single week. My schedule's kind of random and crazy, so I don't know if there'll be a consistent day, but I'm going to try to commit to doing one article every week.
Part 1. How did we get here? I started this Substack to speak my mind regarding a topic that many seem to find taboo. The theory of devolution gets lumped in with other conspiracy theories out there, but I would say that this is the most plausible one based on circumstantial evidence. I'm not saying I know for sure anything is going to happen. I don't have all the answers. I believe Trump didn't walk away, and I urge you to look into things for yourself and come to your own conclusions. I initially started looking into devolution after following Thomas Wichter on Twitter and YouTube. He is the expert on the topic, so go watch his old videos if you're cautious. This first part will be mostly background information. In future posts, I'll cover the specifics in more detail. I'm not sure how many parts there will be, but I'm going to keep adding to it until it feels complete, or until people stop reading.
Okay, one little note here. I lied to you guys because I said I didn't change anything. I was always very adamant about crediting Thomas Wichter with the work or for originating the theory, right? He was the one that first started posting about it. I don't know if you guys remember from Quod Verum, or if any of you were there. He would get so mad. Like, he would post this thread and people would ask him questions and he would get so mad about it. And that is actually why I started researching for myself, because I didn't want to feel the wrath of Thomas Wichter calling me an idiot. And can you guys not see the video on here? You have to press play. Yeah, make sure you guys press play. Anyway, so that is why I started researching and writing for myself, because I didn't want him to be all upset. Not long after I started this series, I was maybe 2 or 3 articles in. Thomas reached out through Brian Cates, who got in touch with me and said that he didn't want his name involved in anything that I was doing. Like, he wanted me to stop referencing him, stop giving him credit. And so that's what I did. I took him out of any references of my articles, including this one. So that should be the only change I've made to this article. And remember, at the time, this was back in July of 2021, which is crazy. That's like almost 3 years ago that I wrote this. Anyway, let's keep going.
What is devolution? The concept of devolution is fundamental and part of the government's top secret continuity of government plans. I will cover the continuity of government plans in detail in a future post. Check out this Newsweek article from 2020. While the report presents devolution in the context of the pandemic, it still provides enough detail to prove that devolution exists and was a topic explored by Trump. From the Newsweek article. Above top secret contingency plans already exist for what the military is supposed to do if all the constitutional successors are incapacitated. Standby orders were issued more than 3 weeks ago to ready these plans, not just to protect Washington, but also to prepare for the possibility of some form of martial law. According to new documents and interviews with military experts, the various plans, codenamed Octagon, Freejack, and Zodiac, are the underground laws to ensure government continuity. They are also secret that under these extraordinary plans, devolution could circumvent the normal constitutional provisions for government succession, and military commanders could be placed in control around America. End of quote from the article. Patel Patriot continues. The article was published March 18th, 2020, and claims, quote, standby orders were issued more than 3 weeks ago to ready these plans. That means February of 2020, Trump had ordered the military to review and prepare the continuity of government plans. I think the timeline of this is essential.
Yeah, that is pretty interesting, that article where they talk about the standby orders already having been issued. Definitely a key thing I look at. But you made a good point there, PHSJR. In 2021, back when we were all still naive enough to think that states would still decertify their electors. I'm kind of excited to get a little bit further into this. I think it's addendum number 1, or maybe it's part 8. I don't remember which article it is now, but the one where I talk about all we're waiting for is the Arizona audit to go through, and that'll be like the thing that we need. And in a sense, I wasn't wrong. It's not necessarily the audit, it's just the exposure of election fraud generally, because we really haven't had that on a mass scale yet. But yeah, that's an interesting comment. We'll keep going.
Note this article regarding a fringe theory being thrown around by Senator Tom Cotton, and notice the date. A theory stating the virus originated from a biosafety lab pops up around the same time, Trump is ordering the military to prepare continuity of government plans. Today, we know that this theory is almost certainly true. It's safe to assume military intelligence was all over this at the time, even though Trump didn't publicly state that he had seen evidence that the virus came from the lab until May 1st, 2020. There is so much disinformation still surrounding the COVID-19 pandemic, and that is by design. Was it an accident? Was it a bioweapon? Depending on the platform you use, you may not even be allowed to ask those questions. However, the answer to those questions is key to the devolution theory because it was the launching pad for the theft of the 2020 election and ultimately the pretext for Trump having our military prepare for devolution. COVID-19. If you look objectively at Trump's handling of China, his policies were pro-American rather than the pro-China approach of previous administrations. In August of 2017, he directed the Office of the United States Trade Representative to investigate Chinese economic practices. Their subsequent report attacked many aspects of China's monetary policy. Trump began imposing tariffs on Chinese products, referencing, quote, a trade deficit of $500 billion a year with intellectual property theft of another $300 billion. I'll cover this IP theft in a future post. These tariffs led to a trade war that culminated in the Phase 1 trade deal signing on January 15th of 2020. Why is that date important? Because the very next day, Trump's impeachment trial in the Senate began.
This is probably one aspect that I could say my thought process has definitely changed regarding. I mean, at the time of writing this and looking at COVID, especially, my eyes were focused on China. Even with the election theft stuff, I was like, the virus was a Xi thing. It came from China. They wanted it, and it did come from China. But I'm saying who actually released it, right? It was China because of the trade tariff stuff. I thought the timing was too interesting. I also thought it had to do with the election, the Bidens being very pro-China in their personal family life and all the ties. So I was thinking China did all this stuff to help Biden steal the election. I'm not sure I fully believe that anymore. I think it was more deep state, Anthony Fauci, all those people, and maybe the January 15th end of the trade or end of the signing of the trade deal, and the next day happening to be Trump's impeachment. That might have just been a coincidence. I don't know. Maybe someday we'll get more information on that. But I do believe that Trump had full information on all this stuff getting released, and we'll cover that when we review the future article, part 15, where I talk all about COVID. And if you remember, he let go of Robert Bolton. He hired Robert O'Brien. Did I say Robert? John Bolton. Hired Robert O'Brien. And then the very next day is when he released that executive order on the modernizing influenza vaccines. And it was right around that time frame when all the satellite imagery and everything at the Wuhan lab went out. And that is too much of a coincidence for me. Somebody in the chat is saying that Kimmy says that she found the Locals app on her TV, which is awesome. So keep that going. Let's press play.
Think back to August 2019. The pressure is building on the Biden family for their ties to Ukraine and China. It almost feels like Durham would drop the hammer any day on the Obama administration for Spygate.
Do you guys think Durham's done? I'm very curious. I would say that was one of the most underwhelming things we've seen so far in this movement, other than maybe some of the audit stuff. But I was hoping and expecting Durham to have done something with that report. I know we've talked about this a lot. If I had a gut instinct on it, I would say that he probably passed it off and we haven't seen the end of it. We didn't publicly get to see all the information that he had uncovered. But yeah, it was definitely one of those duds, very demoralizing for a lot of people.
The whistleblower comes forward with the quid pro quo accusation, and an impeachment inquiry in the House of Representatives is underway. However, with a Republican majority in the Senate and no evidence of a quid pro quo, everybody knows the president will be acquitted. The America First platform Trump campaigned on was working. The economy was booming. He was winning the trade war with China. None of the scandals thrown at him had stuck. He was unscathed through impeachment, along with the other two most significant threats to America, Democrats and the media. China was desperate to get Trump out of office. China favored a Biden presidency, and as found on Hunter Biden's laptop, they would have an equity stake in the Biden administration. Although the fake polls said otherwise, the Democrats appeared to have little chance in 2020. The momentum was palpable. The only way the Democrats would be able to win the election was to steal it.
That is where we're at right freaking now. It's the same thing. They have no chance. The momentum is palpable, and their only opportunity is to steal it.
How convenient that COVID-19 would present them with such an opportunity. Now, you can decide for yourself whether the leak was intentional or not, but what did President Donald John Trump himself say? Speaking to reporters in the Oval Office of the White House on Wednesday, Mr. Trump said, quote, "We went through the worst attack we've ever had on our country. This is the worst attack we've ever had. This is worse than Pearl Harbor. This is worse than the World Trade Center. There's never been an attack like this. And it should have never happened. Could have been stopped at the source. Could have been stopped in China. It should have been stopped right at the source, and it wasn't."
I know Trump is pretty hyperbolic a lot of the times, but that's still such an amazing statement to make. And he was almost, if you think that Trump knew that COVID was kind of BS, and it was a pandemic of fear, right? Like the media, it was all fear driven. And so him saying this, almost feeding into what the mainstream media was telling us this was, other than it being attack, right? They weren't saying that at that point, but still pretty interesting comments from him.
Hey there, Badlanders. Patrick Gunnels here. I hope you're enjoying the Devolution recap with Patel Patriot. And now a word from Epic Minerals. The deep state is a cornered animal, and we need to be ready for services to break down during their next devastating psyop. Introducing Zeolite Extra Spray from Epic Minerals, your ultimate defense against heavy metals and other toxins that compromise your health. Our powerful formula detoxifies your body, eliminating heavy metals and other poisons. In the coming crisis, the ability to cleanse your system could mean the difference between life and death. Detox and prevent heavy metal poisoning with Zeolite Extra Spray. Go to www.epicminerals.net. Promo code Badlands to save 10% off your order.
The election. Everything about the election of 2020 was controversial. Sitting presidents don't gain votes and not get reelected. Obama had 3 million fewer votes and was reelected with a total of almost 66 million votes. Trump gained almost 12 million votes and lost with a total of over 74 million votes. It was evident COVID-19 was a pretext for mass numbers of mail-in votes. A famous politician once said, "Mail-in ballots are extremely susceptible to fraud," said Jerry Pampers Nadler.
So cringy.
Local Democrat officials and rhinos unconstitutionally changed election laws in swing states to create more mail-in voting. Trump saw this coming a mile away. Quote, U.S. President Donald Trump has warned his fellow Republicans their opponents may steal November's election, as his party anointed him as their candidate. Quote, "They're using COVID to defraud the American people," Mr. Trump told delegates on the first day of the party convention in North Carolina. He repeated an untrue claim that mail-in ballots could lead to voter fraud. An unprecedented number of Americans are expected to vote by mail as a result of the coronavirus pandemic. That's from the BBC. Link in the article. President Trump, on Monday, further cast doubt on the U.S. election process, also from the BBC article, claiming falsely that the only way he would lose in November is if the election is rigged. Trump made the remark at the end of a speech to supporters in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, on Monday afternoon as he implored them to vote. It follows months of Trump claiming without evidence that widespread mail-in voting during the coronavirus pandemic would invite fraud into the election. That's from The Hill.
You know, I haven't really been paying that close of attention to what Trump's been saying on this topic this time around. Has he been talking about them using mail-in ballots or anything? I mean, genuine question. I have not been paying attention to his recent comments and his rallies or anything. So, very curious.
There are thousands of examples out there just like these, and even a few prior to 2020. Quote from Donald Trump on Twitter: more reports of voting machines switching Romney votes to Obama. Pay close attention to these machines. Don't let your vote be stolen. Donald Trump, November 6th, 2012. From CNN, Washington, President-elect Donald Trump, so 2017, alleged Sunday without evidence that, quote, millions of people voted illegally for Hillary Clinton and otherwise he would have won the popular vote. It's an unprecedented allegation by a president-elect. Trump won the Electoral College and thus the White House, but the Democratic nominee leads him in the popular vote by about 2 million ballots. Quote, in addition to winning the Electoral College in a landslide, I won the popular vote if you deduct the millions of people who voted illegally.
I'm pretty sure that CNN article and the votes that Trump is referencing there that's the Greg Phillips stuff. And we don't need to get into that, but just for some context.
Trump tweeted, CNN.com, November 27th, 2016. So, what do you do as president when you know fraudulent activity runs rampant through our federal elections? You take action. Everybody underestimated Trump during the 2016 election. There was still fraud, but he was able to overcome it. They were underprepared because they believed their own fake polls and thought Trump had no chance. He knew, just like everybody else, that cheating was their only path to victory, so he prepared for it.
That thought is still kind of the same for me. I know a lot of people, and even other people in Badlands, disagree with me that, you know, they turned off the cheating somehow to let Trump win. Like the Patriots, the White Hats or whatever, somehow manipulated the machines to normal so that Trump could win. I really don't think that's the case. If you look at the way Hillary campaigned and everything, she did not think Trump had a chance. And if you look at the polling back in 2016, they gave Trump no chance. He had like a 0.05% chance of winning, according to most polls. And he out-campaigned. He ran a great campaign and genuinely won the support of the people. And they didn't have the cheating infrastructure in place that they did, even in the 2018 midterms, but especially in 2020.
On May 11th, 2017, he established the Presidential Advisory Commission on Election Integrity. Section 3, mission. The commission shall, consistent with applicable law, study the registration and voting processes used in federal elections. The commission shall be solely advisory and shall submit a report to the president that identifies the following. A, those laws, rules, policies, activities, strategies, and practices that enhance the American people's confidence in the integrity of the voting processes used in federal elections. B, those laws, rules, policies, activities, strategies, and practices that undermine the American people's confidence in the integrity of the voting processes used in federal elections. And C, those vulnerabilities in voting systems and practices used for federal elections that could lead to improper voter registrations and improper voting, including fraudulent voter registrations and fraudulent voting.
Okay, this stuff is still pretty interesting to me because he did create this. He put Mike Pence at the head of it. And this was him investigating all the ways that they were doing voter fraud with this commission. And he got fought tooth and nail by governors, especially the blue states, governors Mike Elias and his law firm. And he ended up shutting this down, and he handed all of their information over to the DHS, which I also thought was interesting at the time. But this, to me, is proof that even when Trump tried to address fraudulent elections and our fraudulent election system, while he was president, and at the time, I'm pretty sure we had both houses, we couldn't get it through. He couldn't get it passed, and I don't think he can do it again. Even if he wins this time, I don't think he can use his... I don't think he can use his role as president to fix our elections. We need some sort of mass exposure. That's why I still say I think they're going to steal this election, get away with it in a sense initially, and then it gets turned over somehow.
In September, he signed an executive order imposing certain sanctions in the event of foreign interference in a United States election. In November 2018, he created the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency. On November 16, 2018, the president signed into law the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency Act of 2018. This act elevates the mission of the former Department of Homeland Security, DHS, National Protection and Programs Directorate, NPPD, and establishes the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, CISA, C-I-S-A. CISA is responsible for protecting the nation's critical infrastructure from physical and cyber threats, a mission that requires effective coordination and collaboration among a broad spectrum of government and private sector organizations.
You know, the CISA thing is something that I think that a lot of people have a misconception over, because a lot of people credit Trump for actually creating CISA, which isn't really the case. CISA already existed within the DHS and within the, their protection of the critical infrastructure. Some congressman, I think it was even a Republican one, put forth a bill to have it become its own agency, have its own separate funding, all that stuff. And Trump just signed it into a law. After it passed through Congress and the Senate, he signed it into law. It is a little different, quite a bit different than the way he created Space Force, which is he actually encouraged the creation of it. He pushed for it. He did the studies and everything. That wasn't necessarily a bill. That was Trump's doing. CISA was more so just him giving the okay for its creation. And PHSJR says Obama set up the cheating infrastructure. That is 100% true. And we cover that later in the series. And also, just want to say thanks to Sammy the Squirrel. I did not know that you could leave tips on locals. And you left a $17 tip saying, thanks, John, for going through the devolution again. The mainstream media is starting to turn on the uniparty, so now is a great time to refresh our memories. And I'm looking forward to this a lot, too, because my memory, I'm almost a little rusty with some of the devolution stuff. It's been so long since if you remember back when I was kind of just focused on devolution, didn't have Badlands or anything, I was going on interviews almost every other day, sometimes more, plus doing the shows. I mean, it was all I was focused on was devolution. And now it's obviously with everything I went through with personal life, kids and whatnot, and Badlands, got a lot going on. So I'm not as into my own articles and research as I used to be. So this will be a great refresher for everybody.
In December of 2019, Trump created the Space Force. I will cover his time in office in detail in a future post, but these actions signify that Trump was proactively taking steps to deter an election theft. The actual theory. President Trump, with assistance from the United States military, caught our foreign adversaries aiding the Democrats with the theft of an election. This is bigger than just mere corruption and scandal. This is war.
That's still a very important aspect of this. Trump, in order to even implement something like a continuity of government plan, like devolution, to the point where he actually had to walk away after winning and having the proof of it, it needed to be some sort of act of war, and there needed to be a lot to it. The part of this that I'm not sure, I don't think anybody really knows for certain, who actually did the stealing in 2020. I mean, I think Trump knows, but I don't think we know. We've guessed, we've speculated, and I'm sure the election machine companies are involved, or I'm sure it was obviously on behalf of the Democrats and with their assistance. They definitely wanted to go through. But as in terms of like who actually did the foreign aspect of it anyway, I don't think we've got a clear picture of who that is yet.
Let Biden assume office, but it doesn't mean anything. Any damage done can and will be reversed. They are basically playing house. Their time in office will only lead to more people wanting Trump back. Biden has no meaningful operational control over the military. I will cover that in a future post. And they won't let any real harm come to us while the battlefield is prepped for whatever reveal is coming.
So that part, like, this is one of those things I kind of cringe at. And it's not that I don't agree with it, because I do. I just wish I would have elaborated a little bit more on what I meant by that. And even at the time of this, right? This was 3 years ago. My thought process, my feelings on everything has evolved to a certain extent. I still almost 100% believe the core principles of what devolution is. I don't think I had any idea, and none of us did, how long this thing would play out, right? I mean, I was kind of under the impression and expected this to be done within a matter of months to a year, or who knows. But I do believe that, maybe the part about no actual damages, I do think there are actual damages that take place. I don't think they can account for everything. That part, I do agree with the military. I don't know what level of control that Biden or Trump has, whatever, but I do think there's a certain threshold that they will not allow certain things to happen. So, yeah, I mean, I still cringe when I hear this, but it's I would never change it.
If you look at actions Trump took leading up to the election, he was prepared for anything the Democrats might pull. Our military intelligence, Space Force, monitored and captured the true vote count. I believe the audit will be eye-opening and kick everything off. If Trump had the vote count, why didn't he do anything? Why haven't we seen any real proof of voter fraud?
And so, okay, that last section too. I don't necessarily agree that Space Force itself was the one monitoring the election theft. I think they played a role. I still think it was Cybercom that kind of changed. But the audit part, I believe the audits will be eye-opening and kick everything off. I thought with the audits we were going to see actual, like, final vote counts and vote totals, which we never really have. And that's, I still agree with that. I think once we actually get some sort of exposure of election fraud, just in any fashion, I thought it would be the audits. We never really got it. That is going to be the what kicks it off, or whatever, however you want to say it. And my thought process right now is that comes in November. We see them steal the election for Biden, but who knows, guys?
COVID changed everything. When Trump said COVID was an attack, he stated that it was worse than Pearl Harbor. If President Donald Trump had information that the Democrats would steal the election with the help from China, that would be considered an act of war. Do you think that is something Trump would allow? Would our military let China install a puppet as president? We prepared for devolution after gathering information on the lab leak and activated it sometime between November 3rd and January 20th. It's too late. The Electoral College already voted for Biden. There is no legal precedent outlined in the Constitution for him to be reinstated, blah, blah, blah. We are in a completely unprecedented situation. If the military came out tomorrow and showed you definitive proof that China assisted the Democrats in stealing the election, would you say, oh, well, no precedent. Can you show me to my assigned gulag? Or would you say, fuck that? This cannot be allowed to stand. Trump chose the latter.
A couple of quick thank yous. I see LKW Cross sent a tip for $5. Thank you. I didn't know I could tip either. Thank you, John. S. Heisler sent a $20 tip, says thanks, John. I think I'm missing one. I don't know where it's at. Oh, sorry, guys. I know there was another tip there, but I can't pull it up. Yeah, we'll just keep going. Oh, the part here, it's too late. The Electoral College voted for Biden. I get that rebuttal all the time. It's unconstitutional because the Electoral College already voted for Biden. My argument for that, against that, is it is far more unconstitutional for somebody to steal an election and take office than it is for a sitting president who actually won the election and has proof of that to implement something like continuity of government and walk away. That is less unconstitutional. We could have the argument of whether it's unconstitutional, sure, but you have to have that other part of the equation in there. And what is the lesser of two evils?
We need to step back and review everything that has happened since the release of COVID. Our enemies conspired to attack the USA with a bioweapon to steal an election with one of our political parties. That is the actual coup. We've been thinking too small. Do you know who hasn't been thinking too small? President Donald John Trump. Quote, I like thinking big. I always have. To me, it's very simple. If you're going to be thinking anyway, you might as well think big. Most people think small because most people are afraid of success, afraid of making decisions, afraid of winning. And that gives people like me a great advantage. Donald J. Trump. Trump, the art of the deal. And that's part one. This is from Patel, Patriot, who was recently banned from social.quadvirum.com by Thomas Richter's pet retard. Please follow him on Telegram.
I just had to play to that part 'cause it always cracks me up. Fucking Patrick. This is before I actually knew him. And anyway, that's part one. By far the shortest in the series. I still think the most cringy article I wrote. I don't know why. It just makes me feel. I wish I could have gone back after having written a few. This is the first time I've ever really written anything long form ever. I've done threads before on Quadverum, but this is my first Substack, my first real crack at writing, and obviously I've written a lot since then, and I feel like I've improved some. Yeah, makes me cringe, but this is gonna be really fun, guys. Going through this series like this, I can't wait. But yeah, we can talk a little bit about this if you guys want, or if you guys have any comments or thoughts. Otherwise, I know it's so short, but I'm meeting my dad for golf here in like 20 minutes, and I do want to do a little bit of a only for subscribers stream. So I'm going to do that. I don't know how to do this. Yeah, okay, I'm going to click this button and give you guys a minute. But again, I will clip this out every week, post it on Rumble a couple days after I do this stream. And so you'll be able to share it around. But I love this idea, and I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. So some of the streams are gonna be super long with how long the articles are, but let's do this. I've never done it before, so I gotta make sure I do this right. We'll begin the countdown for 1 minute. Okay, so in a minute we're going to supporters only, and you guys can ask whatever you want. We can talk for a little bit, but I am excited to go golfing. It's been a little while. I don't think I've only gone once this year, and it was a par 3 course.
That was Devolution series part 1, and that's some insight from John as he's reading from the chat where people are asking interesting questions about what's going on right there, and not a bad gig as far as I can tell. So I'll do this again next Thursday. We'll play Devolution series 2, where he narrates it and lets Patrick gonna read it. I think everybody should see it. If you're not watching it on his station already, maybe you're watching it on mine, and if you're not, share it, and whatever the case may be. So with that being said, I'll see you guys tomorrow night with my show Caught Up on all things. A lot of interesting things to talk about, you know what I mean, as far as that goes. And then from an undisclosed location. We won't be in this setting tomorrow. We're traveling. So all right. You guys have a great evening.
I'm gonna pick my bones up and walk through the storm I made. I'm gonna head on home before it gets too late. I turn it upside down and the thing.
They literally tried assassinating the president. And this is something I think we all need to be cognizant of. They tried shooting President Trump, like the biggest threat to them that there's ever been, arguably. I think they're going to try stealing an election. Like, it's a no-brainer now. If they're willing to try to kill him, they're obviously going to try to steal the election from him. So our job here, our focus, and what we need to unite around is making sure that they cannot get away with it. We cannot let that happen. We need to, like, metaphorically burn this shit to the ground at this point. And I think it starts with exposing the mainstream media, because they are the reason for this. Like, they are the enemy of the people. Like Trump said, they've lied about the Russia hoax, the impeachment. They basically called us all Nazis. They lied about the election. They lied about J6. They basically made Trump a criminal, and threw the entire book at him. They've lied about everything. We need to become the news now, and that's all of us. We need to unite around exposing every single one of their lies from here on out. This shot at Trump is basically drafting you guys into the narrative war. It's no longer acceptable for people to be apathetic themselves, or to allow their friends and family to be apathetic either. This is the time right now where we need to peacefully and patriotically make our voices be heard, and not allow these people to get away with any more of this bullshit. Like, it's done. You need to get on social media. You need to get your ass in this thing and start turning the tides in the narrative war. Like, we can't allow it to stand any longer.
Is always at my back. My back is always strapped with these things that I call my own. Life, it isn't always grand, but when you finally take that stand, you become a man. You needed to become. You meant everything to me. While you left, I could not see. I guess people just do what they want. Time, it goes faster every day, and my heart, it leads the way, while the future, it fades into a memory. Is always at my back. My back is always strapped with these things that I call my